I guess we never know. Just hold on, keep going on. Why wait if you can't go? I think we both know. Keep going on. You and I, we've been through this phase, so be still and take your time. Nothing can stop us, nothing can say you and I. We got each other, we conquer this. And I, nothing can stop us, no one can stop us.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Jakarta, Indonesia, and welcome to our report launch event, bringing Indonesia to the Gigawatt Club, unleashing Indonesia's solar potential. I would like to check our sound first, so could you please leave us comments if you can hear me clearly, and if there is any problems, then we will try to solve it soon. Okay, great. I hear that my voice is sound and clear. Thank you all again for coming, and we hope that you are all healthy and well wherever you are. Before we begin this event, I would like to ask our colleague to explain a little bit about the Zoom housekeeping, because we will have translation services and also several other things that we need to clear ahead before we begin this event. Ganda, please.
Thank you. Welcome to the report lounge and roundtable discussion. My name is Ganda Baskara from IESR. Before we begin to our main events today, please allow me to take a brief time of today's session for housekeeping rules so that our event can run smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar will be conducted in English. For panelists and participants who are joining via Zoom application, we will provide interpreter services from English to Indonesian and from Mandarin to English and vice versa. To activate the interpretation services, you may activate the feature by clicking on the interpretation button on the bottom of the screen. For our viewers who are joining via YouTube IESR Indonesia, we will broadcast the English version of interpretation when Mandarin speaker is presenting. Bapak Ibu yang terhormat, kegiatan webinar kita pada pagi hari ini akan dilaksanakan menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Bagi Bapak Ibu yang bergabung melalui aplikasi Zoom, kami menyediakan fitur penterjemah dari bahasa Inggris ke bahasa Indonesia dan dari bahasa Mandarin ke bahasa Inggris dan sebaliknya. Jika Anda ingin mendengarkan fitur translasi, silakan mengaktifkan fitur interpretation yang tersedia pada aplikasi Zoom. Bagi Anda yang menyaksikan melalui kanal YouTube IESR Indonesia, kami akan merelay interpretation dari bahasa Inggris. We welcome you all to engage and interact with us in this webinar. If you wish to raise questions to our panelists, please do so by typing on your question in the chat box that are available on both on Zoom and YouTube. When you do, please do specify your question and address to each speaker of the house. Our team will monitor your questions and hopefully we can respond as much as possible lively. The materials of today's event will be eventually available on our online at our page iesr.or.id. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation and have a great webinar and discussion. And now we will come into the main sessions of the day. On the morning session will be moderated by my colleague, Dr. Malisria Citangringrum, Program Manager of Sustainable Energy Access, IESR. Now I will handing over the platform to Dr. Chitra. The platform is yours.
Thank you, Ganda, and welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to our event today. This event is jointly organized by Institute for Essential Services Reform, or IESR, based in Jakarta, and Global Environmental Institute, or GEI, based in Beijing, China. My name is Marlistia Citraningrum, and I will be your host for today. Shortly about our agenda for today, first we will hear opening remarks from IESR and GEI, and then we will hear presentation on advanced renewable energy and climate resilient development in Indonesia by our colleague from GEI. It will be followed by a report presentation from IESR research team. And then we will have a short Q&A about the report itself. And we will have 2 rounds of discussion with our esteemed panelists. We encourage you to leave your comments or questions on the chat box or in the comment section of the YouTube. And we will summarize all the comments and chats and questions to be asked later in the Q&A session and also on the roundtable discussion. All right, Indonesia is often called a frontier market for renewable energy, and that includes solar energy. While the technical potential is high, the official number is 207 gigawatts. Solar generation in the country is still less than 1%. This slow growth is a combination of several factors, including the lack of consistent and supportive policies, the absence of attractive tariff and incentives, as well as concern on grid readiness and people's awareness. We at IESR believe that solar energy will be key to open the doors for other renewable energy, and we are hopeful that the upcoming renewable energy bill, presidential decree on renewable energy tariffs, and also the updated grant strategy on renewable energy development in Indonesia will boost Indonesia energy transition. To support this all, IESR has assessed Indonesia's solar technical potential based on Geographic Information System, or GIS, as we are keen to understand our nationwide solar potential, identify prospective solar projects, and to use the information to more ambitious solar development in Indonesia. The interest and growth are need to be nurtured. We all agree on that. But the big question is, what more Indonesia can do to enter the gigawatt solar installation? And we hope that we can discuss more on this and then follow up with some real action soon to increase our solar installation. As a starter, I would like to invite Mr. Fabi Tumiwa, the Executive Director of IESR, to give his opening remarks. The time is yours, please.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, para narasumber dan juga para peserta, khususnya rekan-rekan kami dari GEI dan juga partisipan dari China. Selamat pagi dan selamat datang di peluncuran laporan hari ini, Beyond 207 Gigawatt Unleashing Indonesia Solar Potentials. Kajian yang diluncurkan hari ini menjawab 2 pertanyaan besar yang selama ini ada di benak kita dan ada di yang ada di selama ini di mereka yang bekerja untuk mengembangkan energi surya. Yang pertama adalah seberapa besar sebenarnya potensi energi surya di Indonesia. Dan yang kedua, apakah Indonesia bisa mengandalkan energi surya untuk mencapai target climate neutral atau net zero emission pada tahun 2050 mendatang, sebagaimana yang telah ditetapkan oleh Persetujuan Paris yang telah diratifikasi oleh Indonesia dengan Undang-Undang Nomor 16 tahun 2016. Dari kajian yang kita luncurkan hari ini memberikan gambaran bahwa Indonesia memiliki potensi teknis surya yang sangat-sangat besar, dan nanti kita akan dengar lebih lanjut berapa besar, tetapi dari hasil yang kami lakukan itu potensi teknis berdasarkan ketersediaan lahan dan kesesuaian lahan, itu bisa mencapai 3.000 sampai 20.000 gigawatt peak. Detailnya nanti akan disampaikan. Dengan ini sebenarnya kami percaya bahwa Indonesia itu bisa menjadi solar superpower di Asia Tenggara jika ini semua dikembangkan. Nah, pertanyaan yang kedua adalah Apakah kita bisa mengandalkan energi surya untuk mendukung ambisi iklim yang lebih besar bagi Indonesia dan bahkan melakukan transisi energi yang lebih efektif dan lebih ambisius dalam 3 dekade mendatang? Studi ini memberikan jawaban bahwa kita bisa melakukan itu ya dengan potensi yang paling sedikit saja 3 gigawatt. Apabila itu dikembangkan secara efektif, maka kami percaya listrik yang dihasilkan paling tidak ya dari potensi teknis menjadi potensi marketnya itu paling tidak bisa mencapai lebih dari 7 kali dari konsumsi listrik kita pada tahun 2018. Jadi potensi yang kita miliki hari ini jika dikembangkan secara efektif bisa memenuhi kebutuhan energi kita di masa depan. Nah, kajian ini adalah tahap awal dari serangkaian kajian yang akan dilakukan oleh IESR ke depan. Kalau kita lihat bahwa ini adalah kajian yang bersifat potensi teknis, maka tahap berikutnya adalah kajian untuk menentukan potensi ekonomis dan juga potensi dari sisi proyek yang bisa dikembangkan. Kami percaya di IESR bahwa surya bisa menjadi masa depan untuk energi kita dan oleh karena itu kami merekomendasikan agar pemerintah bisa melakukan update dari sumber daya energi terbarukan yang selama ini ya kalau kita melihat data-data yang disampaikan potensi surya hanya 207 gigawatt. Studi ini menunjukkan bahwa kita punya potensi lebih besar dan dengan mengupdate sumber data resources itu maka ini bisa memberikan sinyal yang lebih baik bagi semua pihak untuk mengembangkan energi surya ke depan. Kami berharap bahwa dengan kajian ini bisa memberikan dukungan kepada pemerintah dan para pembuat kebijakan energi di negeri ini untuk lebih percaya diri mengembangkan energi surya ke depan, bisa mendukung upaya PLN juga untuk mendorong pengembangan energi surya serta pemerintah daerah untuk juga mengimplementasikan rencana umum energi daerah. Dan untuk ini dengan kajian ini diselenggarakan oleh IESR bekerja sama dengan Global Environmental Institute dari Beijing, China. Dan untuk itu kami mengucapkan banyak terima kasih atas kerjasama yang sangat baik selama setahun terakhir ini. Terima kasih kepada Profesor Shengnian Xu, Chair of Board of JE dan juga Madam Jiamin Jin, Board Executive Director of JE. Kami harapkan kerjasama antara GI dan IESR bisa tetap berlangsung dan kita bisa melihat ada transformasi energi di Indonesia dan juga transformasi energi di China untuk mendukung pencapaian persetujuan Paris dalam beberapa tahun ke depan. Terima kasih dan selamat menikmati atau selamat menyaksikan peluncuran laporan ini.
Thank you, Mr. Fabi Tumiwa, for the opening remarks. We all agree that it is a very exciting study, and we hope that the finding of this study would be beneficial for the government, for PLN, and for private businesses to look into further development of potential solar projects in Indonesia. For the next remarks, I would like to invite Dr. Zhiqiang Tang, Board Chair of Global Environmental Institute, to convey his remarks. Dr. Tang is the chair of steering board that oversees the development of GI and GEIF. He is an expert in environmental policy, integrated resource planning, watershed management, and also civil society development. Dr. Tang was born in Zhejiang Province, China, and received his PhD at the Institute for Nuclear Sciences at the State University of Ghent in Belgium. Dr. Tang, the time is yours. Dr. Chang, can you unmute yourself? Okay, let's wait until this technical problem is resolved. I hope that Dr. Chang can hear us. Okay, could you please wait a moment, please?
Okay, thank you for unmuting me. There's a
Good morning.
technical problems,
Yes.
and thank you very much for the introduction. And it's highly appreciate. And also thank you, Fabi, Tuniwa. And very glad to see you again via web email. And thank you very much. Still remember our meetings in 2008 in Beijing, and very glad to work all along since then. And we have worked out a lot of initiatives, and this is one of the most important steps that going forward. So in that case, I would like to thank you. Thanks all the participants to the meeting, specifically Dr. Dadan, Kusdiana from Indonesia, and your colleagues. Also, Mr. Wang from Chinese Academy of Sciences. And we are happy we have so much support from both governments, as well as from civil society and from private organizations. And most importantly, I have to mention that this undertaking is a global climate action, which is initiated last year in 2019 in Bangkok. And Indonesia is part of this initiative, which is China, Southeast Asia countries' collaboration on climate change. But this is not only China and Southeast Asia, rather a global action, because it was also the global climate action was co-chaired by both Minister Xie from China and also Mr. Bloomberg from United States. And both of them are special climate envoy for China as well as for the United Nations. This initiative also undertaken with the financial and technical support from many international organizations, including Bloomberg Philanthropy in United States, Rockefeller Brothers Fund in United States, and CIF from UK, Oak Foundation from Switzerland, and Jianhu Development Climate and Development Foundation, China. So the whole effort actually is a multiple country effort, and this is a part of the China Southeast Asia collaboration with the specific focus with Indonesia. But other members of ASEAN countries has been joined as well, including Myanmar, Vietnam, and Thailand. And soon will be other countries to participate to the programs. So this is a truly international collaboration, and which is exactly needed for the climate actions. Any single country cannot address climate issues by itself. So the global effort is necessary and essential for the success to address the climate crisis for the human being. And the Paris agreement already entered into a specific phases. Up to now, there's 85 countries have a carbon net zero goals, and 29 countries has the agenda already. So decarbonization through renewable energy is one of the major tools to reach that goals. Another story, another methodology, another tools to reach that net zero goal is carbon storage and carbon credit. There is a study from United States scientists demonstrate that even China reached the peak and utilized all its renewable energy potential, China still has a huge gap for net zero. So therefore, China, to achieve China net zero carbon neutral goal, China needs carbon credit. So we are looking for not only renewable energy collaborations internationally, but also carbon credit internationally. As you all know, China already established a carbon credit market domestically, but very soon this effort is going to expand to international carbon market. I hope that Indonesia is part of the game, because Indonesia has both land-based carbon storage capacity as well as huge marine-based carbon storage capacity. So we do have big collaboration potential, not only on renewable energy, but also on blue carbons. Yeah, as I know that Indonesia already have set up a blue carbon initiative with called Blue Forest projects. So those things are the potential for our future collaborations as well. So today we are here talking about renewable energy as our collaborations, but also we are trying to explore much more broader opportunities for both China and Indonesia to reach our common goal on climate change. So this whole effort is not only do a research or assessment, but to turn the renewable energy into a market opportunities, into development opportunities. Unless the renewable energy can become a market opportunity and development tool, the climate change goal is not going to achieved. As mentioned by Fabi, the next step will be demonstration projects and bring in investors for these demonstration projects. The demonstration and investment on demonstration is to prove the business, to the business sector, especially the investors, that renewable energy is marketable and renewable energy is bankable. So therefore, to achieve large-scale development on renewable energy as one of the major solutions for climate change is to bring private sector participation in the large scale down to the road. So I think we are in a very important step for global climate action today. And I hope Indonesia and China can lead the world in this field. So I wish you all with a very successful meeting today. And thank you very much for sharing with me your experience.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Chang, for your remarks. I do agree that technical potential is just a start to see how Indonesia can actually list several market potential for the solar development, and that solar energy is bankable and it attractive to the investors. So we hope that after this meeting, we can all talk about how we will follow up with this study and how we can always look for strategies to develop more aggressive solar energy in Indonesia. Thank you again. And next, before we listen to the report presentation, I would like to give the room to Dr. Shengnian Xu, Program Manager of Global Environment Institute.
Thank you, Sicha.
Yes, I would like to introduce you for a bit. So Dr. Shengnian Xu is the Program Manager of Energy and Climate Change team at GEI. He co-developed GEI's Low Carbon Development Planning Toolkit in partnership with the Center of Climate Strategies that has provided over 700 government officials and experts with the resource to implement low carbon planning in cities and provinces throughout China. His latest work includes improving the capacity of developing and implementation of renewable energy plants in the countries along the Belt and Road. Please, Dr. Xu, you can start your presentation.
Thank you, Sicha. Good morning, dear friends and experts. Today, I'm going to give a brief introduction about our program, Advancing Renewable Energy and Climate-Related Development in Indonesia and other Southeast countries. Since the signing of this Paris Agreement in 2015, almost all the countries have submitted their NDC target. And since then, we realized that in the climate financial and capacity, there are still significant obstacles and barriers there to achieve this NDC. Teacher, would you please show the presentation for?
Yeah, sure. Let's show us Dr. Xu's presentation on the screen.
Okay.
While we're waiting, maybe you could proceed with some introduction of the advanced renewable energy and climate resilient development in Indonesia.
I think I will leave the detail and like exciting result to you to introduce it. I will not take the most exciting news for you. So I'm still going to introduce a little bit about our the whole program in Indonesia and other countries. 我们用我们的万用。 对，共享屏幕。他们好像。
Okay, do you see the screen now?
Yeah. Thank you. You can use not the recursor, full screen, not the recursor mode. Display setting. This is the recursor mode. You can just use the full screen mode. Okay, I'll go with this. Since NDC, since the Paris Agreement and all the countries submit their NDC target, we realized that there are still a lot of obstacles and barriers there for a lot of developing countries to achieve their NDC target. So in 2017, we proposed a program, this program to assist developing countries, especially in Southeast Asian region, to fulfill their NDCs under the Global Climate Action Initiative. So many countries they will need technical assistance and financial assistance. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So we have been working on this program through two ways. to achieve our goals. One is through like we have been working on this through first we provide technical capacity buildings and to officials and researchers in local countries, so they can carry out their own renewable energy development plans, and capacity building and for the renewable energy planning is not enough. We still need financial support. So for the second way, we will also like bridge financial support for the renewable energy project in local countries to realize their renewable energy development plans. Next. And this is here is the basic basic ways, basic methodology of our toolkit or program. First, we analyze the technical potential. From the technical potential, you will know the upper limit of each like renewable energy or energy potential. Then after that, you can analyze the cost to carry out all these potentials. For example, the rooftop or the solar farm scale solar project. Because to carry out this project, you need financial investment. That's why we need to do the financial analysis to carry out this analysis. You need a lot of information about the policy regulation to support this project in the local countries. And we call this market potential. So there will be several potentials there, and we will carry it step by step. So this is our basic idea of this toolkit or methodology. The next. So far, we have been using this toolkit in 5 countries and 6 regions. 2 provinces have adopted this toolkit. Actually, this methodology was first developed in Guangdong province by our GIEC, and one of the expert leader there, she is going to join the panel discussion, and the 5 other 4 countries is all in Southeast region, the Myanmar, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. I will give you like a basic what you can achieve use this toolkit, to use this methodology. For example, in Guangdong province, you will get for the first step, you will get the 4 potential of this technical potential for the 4 province. It's 1,500 gigawatt. That's the upper limit of solar potential there. And for the 6th step, we analyzed the distributed potential of rooftops in the industrial area, the Wang economic development zone. We realized that the potential can be more than the government's expectations. The planned installation for the distributed solar project in economic development zone by the government is only 185 megawatt. But from our analysis, we realized like they are still like more than 300 megawatt potential to this. So with this analysis, you can see what upper limit for each technology distributed solar project potentials and others. And we, for the last stage, we also analyzed the financial output. We take the medium-sized project, for example, 1.4 megawatt project. It's a one factory rooftop solar project. We estimated the levelized cost for the electricity generation. It is slightly higher than the coal-based power, even with the national level subsidy, the provincial level subsidies. We can see like this. This is not good news for this medium-sized project in Guangdong. And for Myanmar case, first we also analyzed the whole national potential of the solar energy. That we analyzed the total potential of all the buildings in Mandalay City, the second largest city in Myanmar, and we get area of 17 million square meters with 200,000 rooftops there. The capacity is more than 3 gigawatts for all the buildings. And with this capacity and the power production, annual production, more than like 3,900 gigawatt hours. Only 5% of this power production theoretically can meet the electric demand for the poor residents, poor people. The electricity demand in this city, only 5% theoretically. And for the last stage, we developed 3 different types of solar PV project in Myanmar to try to make it bankable for the investors. These projects are mini off-grid solar system in the rural area for the villagers, and industrial rooftops in one industrial zone in Mandalay City, and another one is a diesel replacement project using solar PV system in the South region. Even with this rich resource and low levelized cost compared to diesel and gasoline in Myanmar, it's not easy to develop it, because considering their like economic development level there. So far, this is like a project we have been carrying on in all these regions and countries. And for IESR, I think we have been working on the national potential of Indonesia for the solar power for 1 year, and we get some very exciting news. I'll read out. I think later you will get it from IESR, our colleagues in IESR, and they will show you this exciting news. And for the next time, I will just give a brief introduction about the next we are going to do together with IESR. We will first we are going to select typical areas in Myanmar, such as urban area, rural area, and isolated islands. And next, we will using AR technology to identify all these buildings in these selected areas, like the public buildings, industrial zone buildings, and the residential buildings. And for the last step, we will, for the analyze part, we will do the financial analysis for all these like potential projects there to see their levelized cost other investment analysis. And after that, we will also try to bridge multilateral financial support to this potential solar project in Indonesia. The next slide. And here are all the our partners working on this war program from all the countries, and this research institute, and partners. And next slide. And we also want to give special thanks to all our donors who supported our effort in this program in this region. And this whole program is also part of the Global Climate Action Initiative. So this is the presentation, whole presentation, and thank you, everyone. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Xu. And also, I would like to thank our GI colleagues for helping us with the mapping of Indonesia's solar potential. And we hope to follow up this study with more detailed plans on how to identify feasible solar projects in Indonesia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for us all to listen to our newest report. We call it Beyond 207 Gigawatts. So basically, we in IESR like to think beyond what's more and what's behind the numbers, because maybe we might get intimidated by the high numbers. But my question would be, who's up to the challenge to convert these numbers into potential solar projects in Indonesia? I will invite Mr. Dhanel Kurniawan, our specialist on solar photovoltaics and material technology, to present our latest report, Beyond 207 Gigawatts. And while he is presenting, I encourage you all to leave your comments and questions on the comments and chat box, and then we will discuss them shortly after the presentation. Mr. Dhanel Kurniawan, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chitra, for the kind introduction. Just for a moment. Yes, how is everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing great wherever you are joining. And big shout out to also our colleagues at the Global Environmental Institute, which has helped us to build this amazing work of supporting solar power in Indonesia. So before I start, I'd like to just give some shout outs to the GI team. And this work is actually a team effort out of at least 6 researchers, and also our executive director and program managers as the reviewers. And also a big thanks to Geospatial Information Agency, or Badan Informasi Geospasial, for supporting us with the data required for the slope exclusion analysis, and also with the support from the Directorate of Various New and Renewable Energy of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. Big thanks for the support. And about the report, just to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what the report would look like, it follows a typical 5-chapter report: introduction, methods, results and discussion, and conclusions at the end, and which you can download at the end of today's report launch this afternoon at our website. So make sure to check it out later. And so this is just to give a background of the study, and I'm sure it has mentioned earlier by our executive director and Professor Zhang, and also by Dr. Xu earlier, that Indonesia needs to achieve its renewable energy target of 23% by 2025 and 35% to 21% by 2050. And its realization in last year is only 11.5%, which we need to double this number in the next 4 years. And by the way, this needs to not only achieve 23% if we want to achieve our climate targets, but so this list is not really exhaustive, but this is just to kind of scale down a bit so it's easier to understand. And also in the RUEN's target, or in the National Energy General Plan, we have a solar PV installation target of 6.5 gigawatts by 2025, which is currently being revisited by the National Energy Agency. And incidentally, solar PV is targeted to represent 1/3 of total clean power generation of 48 gigawatt by 2035 in the upcoming National Energy Grant Strategy, and of which about 60 or 76% is expected to come from utility scale solar, including floating PV. I put two different numbers here because there was some kind of change at the end of last year to today. So just to give a rough sense of what is expected to come from utility scale solar. And the second reason is really about the outdated solar PV potential estimate. The current estimate is at 207 gigawatts, which is released in 2017 by the Research and Development Agency of the Ministry of Energy. So we hope that with this study, the results can be used to support solar power development, while also meeting future electricity target, achieve renewable energy targets, and also if you extend it a little bit more to achieve the climate target as well. Okay, so before we get into the methods and results, I just want to briefly touch on the renewable energy potentials, which has been mentioned earlier also by Dr. Xu. That there are, in the literature at least, there are 4 types of potential, which are a resource potential, technical potential, economic, and also market. And as you go from the left to right, it gets smaller and smaller because there are some restrictions. It could be physical, geographical, and also market restrictions sometimes. And if you look at resource potential, it's essentially the theoretical potential of the solar energy from the sun and in the land. And in this report, we are studying the technical potential, which are constrained by system and topographic constraints, land use, and also system performance. So in essence, it's the achievable electricity generation capacity in gigawatts or megawatts, and generation potential in gigawatt hours, and also the suitable land area in square kilometers, given certain performance and geographic constraints. And as Dr. Xu mentioned, technical potential does not mean that it's the number of the actually deployable projects, but rather it gives us the upper limit of the development potential. And just to give a bit of a distinction, the economic potential is slightly more different because you have this projected technology cost and available versus required revenue, such as the levelized cost of electricity, and you need to calculate the project feasibility using some financial models, which are excluded from this work. And so a good way to remember this is we often heard about the technically feasible and economically viable. And by that, the technically feasible means the technically in this technical potential, while the economically viable means the economic potential, which are not discussed in this study. And all right, so this is the overview of what we did basically to perform the assessment. In general, there are 2 main steps, which are to create the suitable land area map on the figure on the left here, and then convert that into some kind of conversion factor, and also solar PV output mapping into the technical potential generation map on the right. And I'm gonna talk through each of the detailed steps in the next few slides. So the first thing that we need to do is to perform the layer exclusion analysis. And as you can see on the figure on the left here, resource potential, and then you exclude some of the layers such as protected areas, maybe forest areas, water bodies, and etc. And then you can get technical potential at the end, at the very bottom of it. And in our case, we perform 3 different exclusions. First one is slope exclusion. So we exclude the slope higher than 10 degree or 17.6% in percent using digital elevation model, which we obtained from the Geospatial Information Agency. And then as for land cover, we're using land cover data from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, or MOEF. And I'll talk about this in a more detail in the next slides because it's a bit long. And also protected areas exclusion using the UN Environmental Program World's Database of Protected Areas, which includes nature reserve, wildlife reserve, biosphere reserve, and so on. And when we talk about land cover, as you can see here, this is the classification of land cover by the Ministry of Energy and Environment and Forestry. So we have 23 classes for land cover. 7 of them are forest, and the 16 are non-forested areas. And in general, the 7 forests includes 6 classes of natural forests, which will be excluded in this analysis. And we will select some of the land cover that we deem suitable for solar PV development. And as you can see here, this is the summary table. Out of the 23, we exclude almost about 14. So we get 9 selected suitable land cover from different rationale. And I just want to note that plantation forests and agricultural lands are included here, at least for some of our scenarios, because we've seen that this project in Lombok and also Likupang in North Sulawesi were actually able to acquire the land of plantation forests and agricultural lands. Yeah, so we made several, can you help me with the next slide, please? Okay, so we made some scenarios for the land cover exclusions. As you can see here, we arrive at the first scenario here with the 9 selected land cover. And then we remove, as we go down, we remove some of the land cover, such as the pure and shrub mixed dry agricultural lands and plantation forests in scenario 2, and then go further down to scenario 3 and scenario 4. Okay, so wait, yeah, and then after we obtain the suitable area map, we have to combine that with the solar PV output mapping to estimate the technical potential capacity and generation, which is represented on the figure on the right there. And it's assigned to each province in Indonesia. So as you can see, it has different colors because they represent different generation potential. And as you can see also in the 2 equations below, it's basically how we converted the technical potential capacity, which simply the land area multiplied by the power density, and also potential generation, which we further multiply by the PV output. And so this is the summary table of Indonesia's solar PV potential. And I'm gonna talk you through this table, and as you can see, and the column on the left are the scenarios from scenario 1 to 4. And the second one is the suitable area. And then the third and the fourth is both the technical potential, capacity, and generation. And as you can see in the first scenario, Indonesia's solar potential, technical potential can reach up to 19.8 terawatt peak, which is 95 times higher than the current official estimate, with the generation potential of 26,900 terawatt hour per year, amounting to about 24.5% of Indonesia's total landmass of 1.9 million square kilometers. And as you go down to the next scenarios, it gets smaller because we exclude some of the suitable lands that we deem suitable in these scenarios. And so in essence, you can get about 3.4 terawatt peak up to 19.8 terawatt peak, which is 16 to 95 times larger than the current official estimates. And by the way, you can, if you're interested more about this, you can look at the details in the report later about the assumptions that we used. And this is just to give some visualization of what I meant by the suitable area map. The green ones are the suitable land. They're not forest, by the way. And the brown ones are suitable land use, but with unsuitable slope or higher than 10 degree, which we excluded. And the white ones are intentionally excluded, and then the red ones are the protected areas mentioned earlier. And as you can see on the bottom right here, that's the percentage of the land cover type relative to the suitable areas. So in the first scenarios, as you can see, shrub mix dryland farm actually took up the largest amount of the areas, amounting to 33%, followed by shrubs or belukar in Indonesian of 23%. And I'm just gonna show you quickly through this difference and between the fourth scenario, so you can see the difference. And as we go down to the different scenarios, you can see that the green colored are getting smaller because we exclude the suitable areas. And as you can see here on the scenario 3, because we took out the settlements and transmigration areas, most of it are in Java Island. You can see that none of them are in there anymore. And yeah. So, and this is the other potential maps, which is the PV generation potential. And as you can see, this is clipped to each province. And as you can see here, the largest potential seems to be in Kalimantan and someplace in Sumatra and also in Jawa Timur or Eastern Java. But yeah, we need to really compare a look at the details because it's how to say in general, because if you have large areas of land, you will naturally have larger potential, assuming that the land are allowed there. So yeah, you need to take this with a grain of salt. And so to set a discussion for later today, I just want to touch on a little bit about the current national electricity demand and planning. And so this is the planned power generation capacity in the PLN's electricity supply business plan, or RUPTL. This is pre-COVID years, so in 2019 up to 2028. And as you can see here, PLN at the time planned a total generation of 56.4 gigawatts for all power generation. Out of that, 30% are renewables, which is 16.7 gigawatts. And if you see in the first bullet there is solar PV actually only accounts for 1.6% or 908 megawatt of the total planned generation capacity, which is very small compared to the Ruan's target earlier of 6.5 gigawatts. And in the second point here, I want to convey is in the upcoming RUPTL in the 2021, after the COVID-19 power adjustment, the total planned capacity is cut by 15.5 gigawatts to 41 gigawatts, where they say that the half gigawatts are from renewables, and the electricity demand growth projection is reduced from 6.4% to 4.9%. And this is the latest update that we found, that solar PV, wind, and waste to energy together will account for 3.7 gigawatts in the upcoming RUPTL, although no details, specific details yet on the specific ratio for solar energy. And as you can also use this technical potential data to do some more local energy planning, as we will talk about briefly here in Bali and Sumba Island. And so this is also the Bali's power system overview, which are taken from the RUPTL in 2019. And it currently has the peak demand of 980 megawatt as of January 2020, with the 10-year growth projection of 6.3%, with electricity sales amounting to 5,700 gigawatt hour. And currently it's supplied from two main power sources. One is its inland power generation, about 1 gigawatts, and mostly fossil fuels and diesel generators, and also coupled with the submarine cable transmission to Java of 420 megawatt. And in terms of solar PV, Bali actually plans to add 100 megawatts in the upcoming 10 years, according to the previous RUPTL, of which 2 times 25 megawatt is currently already won by a consortium and are waiting for a PPA and Bali actually say that they want to improve this to double this once they increase their connection to Java-Bali interconnection. And if we use the technical potential data from the scenario 2, we actually found that Bali has the potential of 26.4 gigawatts. So it's more than, this is really large, and considering the plant capacity is only 100 megawatts, that's really small and tiny compared to the potential. And yeah, so this is the results for Bali. And by the way, we have the provincial level in the report, but this is exclusive for the presentation. So we have the regency or city level. So we have out of the 9 regencies, amounting to 643 square kilometers and generation potential of 40,000 gigawatt hours. And also I'd like to make a case, I guess, that we also did some separate, and in separate work, we have done some calculation on pump hydro energy storage, in which we found that there are 5 cost classes with a total energy of 559 gigawatt hours. So yeah, it's there. They don't have much river area, so it's really tricky to build. But they have the potential to I guess compensate for solar's intermittency. So yeah, this could be used for consider for the future electricity planning. And in another case is in Sumba Island, and the reasoning is because the government have often announced that they want to build a solar barn in East Nusa Tenggara, specifically in Sumba. And in terms of peak demand, there is no data on Sumba specifically, but the entire East Nusa Tenggara peak load is at 213 megawatts in 2018, with a 10-year growth projection of 8.15% and the sales of almost 1 terawatt hour in 2019. And currently the power supply in Sumba is, because it's an isolated island, it still consists of mostly diesel generators and some micro hydro and a small solar power plant there. And our calculation found that we have 133 gigawatt peak for the potential. Actually, that's almost 6 times larger than Bali. And yeah, this is the preview of the potential results in Bali. And as you can see in the table down there, East Sumba actually has the largest potential, almost more than half of the total Sumba potential. And yeah, so I just want to conclude with some remarks that Indonesia's potential for solar energy actually is larger, is found between 3.4 terawatt and up to 19.8 terawatt peak, amounting to 4,000 up to 26,000 terawatt hour per year, and taking up 4.3% to 24% of the total landmass. And also that the result is actually well above 207 gigawatts, more specifically 16 to 95 times the current national official estimate. So we have some 3 recommendations here that the government can use this data to update their national solar potential figures to reflect on the more detailed potential for solar power development. And also local governments specifically with their respective PLN's regional office can also use this data to identify prospective locations for solar, and then use these findings as an entry to more detailed planning on the ground. And assessment could include projections of electricity supply and demand, grid study, financing needs, as Dr. Xu also mentioned, as well as related policies and incentives. And lastly, further technical assessments could also be conducted, zooming in on specific locations at cities or regencies level, and even smaller, not only for utility scale solar, but also for rooftop and also floating PV. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and I'll look forward to the Q&A session afterwards if you have any questions, and I'll send it back over to Chitra.
Okay, thank you, Dhanel, for the presentation. So in short, IESR found that the solar potential based on geographic information system or GIS mapping is much, much higher the current national estimate. And we expect that this detailed assessment that goes into cities and regencies level can act as an entry point for us to discuss in which area we should develop solar projects in Indonesia, not only for the utility scale, but also other type of solar, including floating solar and rooftop solars. So I would see the comments box first, if there is any question or clarifying comments from the audience. If you have any questions or comments, please do drop some questions on the comments and the chat box, and we will relay the questions to our research team. Okay, and while we are waiting, probably I will ask to Dhanel first. I think sometimes people say that the number is not important, no matter how high or how low, but how do you see this assessment could help us in building more aggressive solar projects in Indonesia?
All right. Okay. Okay, that's a hard question. But I think this analysis or assessment can be used not only from the public sector perspective for energy planning, but also can be used for the private sector to really map out or identify which areas they want to find projects to develop. And I think these numbers show that, well, I think calculation is very important because if we just rely on certain numbers without really trying to calculate it more thoroughly, I think it's really kind of dangerous and it's an understatement. So I think these numbers can really assist in solar power development for both sides, from the public sector and then the private. I think these numbers will do something, I think, on the ground.
Okay, great. Even if we have that 207, then our solar development in Indonesia is still less than 1%. I think if we update the number, then we have to continue pushing for more aggressive solar development in Indonesia so that that percentage could increase. Okay, I see one question here. This is Damar from Mentari. Okay, thank you for your question, sir. Sorry if I'm missing this information, but how do you define protected areas? So he said that on his previous study, he also considered military base or vital area and also distance from transmission or airport based on the regulation. So I think you could shortly explain how we define, why we exclude certain areas from our mapping.
Okay, so I think I see two clarifying questions here. One is the protected areas, and the second is airport.
Vital area.
Vital areas, okay. So for the protected areas, we are using the UNEP's World Database for Protected Areas, in which there are a selection of naturally protected areas such as nature reserve, wildlife reserve, national park, and so on. So, and then actually it consists of two different databases from both national. So it's actually uploaded from the Maritime, Ministry of Maritime, and also Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So it combines both the national and the international data. So I think we try to kind of include that areas for sure. As to the vital areas, actually, it's because we cannot really, so we rely on land cover data. So because it's a satellite image, we will try to exclude some of the, so we cannot really look at a more granular data. So we can only rely on land cover. So for instance, if it's urban areas, like for example, seaport or airport, we excluded that in our assessment. But in the case where there's like settlements and transmigration areas, we still included that in some of the scenarios because we think that there's potential there, even though there might be buildings on the ground. So it's hard to really have that granularity, but because it's more about trying to find the suitable land instead of really going to granulars, because yeah, that's how the assessment was done basically.
Okay, thank you. I think you can all read the details later when we uploaded the report on IESR website, and we welcome the input from all of you on our report and how we should proceed with our follow-up study. For the next questions is, there is a question from, I didn't mention the name, QE Bramis. Question for IESR team: what are the factors that might cause the discrepancy between the potential of solar areas and capacity from our UPTL and IESR findings? Because the potential is higher for Bali and Sumba, but probably it's not comparable to the demand. And how we should use this information to attract investment, as probably there's a mismatch between demand and also potential of solar in the area.
All right. So the discrepancy between the potential and the demand actually this is what the question means, right? Yeah, that's actually the I think the main hurdles for renewables in general, because where the potential is, the demand is often not. So you need to kind of transmit those potential if you want to build it somewhere else. And the answer might be transmission. So building transmission line through, for example, from Sumba to Java to connect those the demand centers. Although it might need some significant investment, and to be quite honest, I haven't done the investment analysis on that. But yeah, it is actually mentioned in the National Energy Grand Strategy by the National Energy Agency that they wanted to to consider that option in the next, I think, 20 years or so. So yeah, I think that's one way of sending the the production to where the demands are.
Yes, I think, and this is also the question that I would like to discuss with our panelists in the first session and also the second session, is that, is this information useful for all of us, and how we can move forward to use this information to develop more ambitious solar projects in Indonesia. I will check around for another questions. If you could wait for a minute. Yeah, if you still have any questions, please leave us in the comments under the chat box and we will discuss them later. Okay, because I'm seeing none, so probably we will move to our first. There is one questions. Okay, please kindly show us on the screen. The number is quite big from our study, so I'm not sure if people will get intimidated or have any doubts on how we can actually develop all of this solar potential. But anyway, we will see with the discussion with our panelists later. So the question is, this is from, okay, let's see if this is coming from. So thank you very much for the presentation. We think the potential of solar PV, especially in Eastern Indonesia, is still high, according to the presentation. It's for the East Nusa Tenggara. What about the potential in Timor Island? Is it similar with Sumba?
Timor Island. Yeah, I'm gonna need to check the summary of the results first for answering that. So just give me a minute to look up at the data.
Yes, basically we found that Eastern Indonesian provinces in Eastern Indonesia has quite high potential and also available land for developing solar projects. Let us check with the Timor Island itself. And while Dhanel is checking, if you still have any comments or question, please leave the message for us. Okay, you need some time?
Nope, found it. So Timor actually here has, so I found two in terms of the regencies, because we didn't really exclude, to summarize specifically on Timor Island, but on my quick search here, we have both in Timor Tenggara Utara, we have 22 gigawatt peak, and Timor Tengah Selatan, we have also 23 gigawatt. That's using the first scenario, so it's the most optimistic case. There might be other missing regencies that I could not see here, but yeah, but about 40 gigawatts for the first scenario.
40. So compared to Sumba, that's the number is a little bit less, right? But it's also based
Right.
on land area available for the solar projects. Am I correct? Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, for the details, then later you can see on our report that you can download. If you have any clarifying questions on the report itself, you should shoot us a message through our website, our email, and also our social media. We'll be happy to answer them. Thank you, Mr. Dhanel Kurniawan, for the presentation, and I would like to move forward to our first discussion. We're really willing to hear from several panelists here on how they perceive this study. Is there any suggestion for the study improvement? How this study could contribute to the future works on accelerating solar development in Indonesia, and probably the needs for opportunities and more collaboration for making Indonesia the solar powerhouse. I would welcome our panelists for today. The first is Mr. Kurniawan Anditya, the Director of various new and renewable energy from Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, represents Dr. Dadan Kusdiana as Director General. And then I would like to welcome Madam Chita Dewi, the Executive Vice President and Engineering for Renewable Energy from PLN. I would also like to welcome Dr. Andhika Prastawa, the Chairman of Indonesia Solar Energy Associations. Professor Wang, member of China's National People Congress Standing Committee, and also Vice President of Institute of Science and Development, Chinese Academy of Science. And also Professor Culping Liao, Research Director from Guangzhou Institute of Energy Conversion, Chinese Academy of Science. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, Chitra.
Morning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming today. And this is a panel discussion, so I would like to hear your opinion on what the study is all about. Thank you for allowing us to have you here today. So first, I will ask Mr. Kurniawan first, because this is very, very relevant to government strategy on developing renewable energy in Indonesia. So how do you think about this study in general? And do you have some kind of suggestion and comments on how we can use the information from this study for the further development of solar energy in Indonesia?
Okay, thank you, Bu Chitra. First of all, I would like to say thank you and good job for the IESR for what you call preparing and making this kind of the study, unleashing what you call the solar potential that already identify the potential of the solar is what you call above of 207 gigawatt, the one that the official one of the Ministry of Energy already issued. Well, I would like to also explain the idea when the MEMR trying to what you call develop more solar PV in the near future. So perhaps maybe you already aware that our target for 23% of renewable energy in 2025, we still only have 4 years remaining time to achieve this kind of the target. And one of the what you call the priority of the renewable energy to be developed is a solar power. And why the solar power? We always explain that the potential is very huge. Even the numbers from the ministries is only 207. 0.8 gigawatt, but through this ESR study, the number of the technical potential is very huge. I would like to give some information when the MEMR trying to provide the solar potential data. So for your information, under the ministry, we have what we call the Research and Develop Center, particularly Research and Develop Center for Electricity, New and Renewable Energy, and Energy Conservation Technology. This is the one, the institution under the ministries who provide the data related to the renewable energy in Indonesia. Not only solar potential, but also wind, hydro, as well as biomass, exclude geothermal, because the geothermal potential will be handled by our agency, a geology agency. So for your information, the data that they are trying to provide for the ministries, they are making some modeling and mapping solar potential using the weather research and forecasting with high resolution is 5 kilometers. And then this potential is actually the data that they are provide for the ministry is consists of theoretical potential and technical potential. And then for the theoretical potential, it applies to Indonesian land cover areas, while the technical potentials was calculated by only 50% of PV conversion. And just for your information, this solar potential made from our colleagues from P3 KEBTK, it is also already got the patent and copyright, and then it is using in President Decree 22 year 2017 as a reference for national energy policy. And just for your information, the identified theoretical potential of this solar is reached almost 1.3 million megawatt peak. But the technical potential is less, that you already aware, only 207.8 gigawatt. But if you look at the theoretical, the number is very huge, 1.3 million megawatt peak, or we can say 1,300 gigawatt. So we are now trying to also updating the solar potential data in this year, and we also trying to also what you call identify the solar potential with lying with the transmission line, and then that some existing transmission existing the power generation, so we can have a better understanding when we're trying to develop this kind of the potential. For example, if there is a transmission exists in that location, then it is better to develop out-grid solar PV. In the other side, if there is the location of the solar PV potential is far from the transmission, then we can try to develop through the off-grid. And we are very appreciate for the achievement of the IESR to develop the solar PV, already trying to identify the potential of land to be developed for solar PV. But if we are trying to develop more solar PV potential, then we will try to what you call ask to IESR to join to our colleagues in this year when they are preparing the update of the solar PV. That's my comment for at the moment, Mr. Citra.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, we agree that in order to have more detailed planning for the solar development, then we need a further study on grid connection, also financing need, and etc. And I think my next question would be to you, sir, that we identified that several locations in Kalimantan is having huge land available for solar energy. And we know that Kalimantan has two provinces heavily dependent on coal. So how do you see that probably solar projects can help the transition from coal-dependent province into renewable province, so to say?
Yes, actually, we are now already entering the transition of the energy. The government trying to what you call boosting the development of renewable energy, particularly solar, because the potential very huge. The installation is very fast, and then the cost of the technology is already decline what you call rapidly. And this is the one that the effort of the government to develop more solar PV in order to achieve the target of renewable energy. We already identify the potential of the solar PV to be developed under the what you call the draft of the PLN electricity supply plan business plan, and we are trying to also what you call to look at whether the solar PV can be developed or can be replaced with this kind of the existing power plant, such as a diesel power plant, because as you may know that currently the diesel power plant development in the PLN or the existing one is still very huge in a number. And we are now already having some discussion with the PLN, with the Cita, how the diesel power plant will, where the exist is most likely in the eastern region of the Indonesia. Some part also located in Kalimantan can be replaced with the renewable energy. One of them is solar PV. And then the other one is we are also trying to look at the possibility also coal-fired power plant to be replaced with this kind of the solar PV. The discussion with ministry and the PLN is now how big the numbers of solar PV can be what you call enter into the electricity system of the PLN. We are now under discussion how big the penetration of the solar PV in each region, because each region having some specific what you call reliability of the system. And one of the issues that we are need to consider is related to the stiffness index of the system or the reliability index of the system. Even though the government believe 10% variable renewable energy penetration to the system still can be acceptable. So this my comment to your question.
Okay, how much is renewable energy can penetrate our grid as estimated by Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources without actually disturbing the reliability of the grid?
There are two what you call consideration when we are trying to put the penetration of variable renewable energy into the electricity system. First is the percentage, the numbers of the VRE is it should be not exceed than 10% of what you call electricity production in year. And then the second, the additional, the higher penetration of VRE cannot cause the reserve margin of the electricity PLN below 30%. So that's the what you call the requirement that we are need to see when the government trying to increase what you call the development of solar PV into the PLN electricity grid.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I would like to ask the following question to Madam Cita Dewi of PLN, because this is very relevant. So we found out from our study that several areas have higher land availability and also higher solar potential. And well, they're usually not the demand centers of the electricity, and somewhat we need to also consider the reliability of the regional electricity grid. So how do you comment on our study that probably several solar potential projects can be developed in which island? to transfer to what island, or other comments that you might think relevant to this study?
Okay, thank you, Bu Citra. Good morning, all. Selamat pagi, Pak Chris, Pak Andhika, and all panelists. Before giving a further explanation, I would like to thank you as well and give appreciation to IESR for the interesting study. As we know that Indonesia right now already mentioned as well by Pak Chris, that we have a potential for RE development, especially right now, based on our long-term planning. How to achieve the 2025 will be one of PLN's target. As a government body, we have to support the government program in addition to achieve 23rd of this issue. We have a policy for energy transformation. This energy transformation, what we call green transformation, which is divided into three pillars here: implementation of long-term planning, and then green booster, and implementation of large-scale program. Back to the question to how is the implementation of solar PV and in which site, we saw before answering to this question, I would like to highlight for the study first that it is a very interesting study because it will be more nice if the study convey a more specific potential, especially divided by island or even by province, because it will relate it to the condition of the electricity system in one island or other. And it will make easier also for PLN to plan a solar PV development, because we know the potential for PV in certain location. But besides this, right now we are going to develop in a specific island, means that the off-grid island, especially for our program for diesel power plant conversion, that we are going to reduce the operational of diesel power plant by representing solar PV, and can be hybrid or others form. For the first stage, yes, it could be implemented in the scattered island, scattered in Indonesia, Sulawesi, Maluku, Sumatra, Papua, and it is a very interesting and it is a very unique project as well. That seems that even it is a small scale, but it will be a very interesting project. And for the question related to the what is the suitable area, means that how the study can be contributing to the future. It is the study can be used as well for our comparison with our current project. It will be one of our tools to verify whether the planning we did is correct or not. So it is a very good and very good approach also for PLN to utilize this as a reference.
Okay, thank you, Bu Chita. We have yet to see the newest RUPTL for the next 10 years. So do you think that, or may we get information that solar energy will be increased in the next RUPTL, or maybe what's the future plan from PLN to develop solar energy in Indonesia?
Yes, definitely. As our commitment, we are going to increase the RE energy mix, that we should more develop on RE power plant, not only solar, but others power plant as well. Before stating this, how is the next development for the PV, we are going to give a highlight for our condition, PLN condition right now, so that it will be have an impact to the future development. Even right now, we are still discussing for the future RUPTL, but our RUPTL is prepared by some consideration, as we understand that first, that right now we have a construction of FTV phase 2 program that are currently still going on, where the COD will be until 26 or 27. And besides, the pandemic caused load demand is to drop significantly. There was a slowdown in the load demand growth for 2 or 3 years. Hopefully it will be completed soon. And right now, the several electricity system an oversupply condition with a reserve margin around 45, but in some areas 60%. But despite this affirmation condition, PLN is trying to commit to achieve their RE mix. How is the approach? That first, we are going to optimizing existing under construction asset, namely by accelerating completion of RE power plants such as hydro, PV as well, geothermal, and also co-firing operation with biomass. And then second, we are going to accelerate to develop an RE, especially in the scattered and deficit area, such as by diesel conversion program with PV. It will be multi-years program because right now we have 5,000 unit of diesel power plant which should be converted, and it has potential of till 2 gigawatt. It will part of our consideration and in preparing the RUPTL as well. And how about the FVRE installation? Yes, in the form of solar PV and wind power, around 3 gigawatt in the next 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. And it is still under discussion with the ministry.
Okay, thank you, Bu Chitra. We're looking forward to see the new RUPTL, and probably we hope that our study and assessment could also be an input for the next year RUPTL to develop more ambitious solar projects in Indonesia. And later, I will get back to you. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Andhika Prastawa of Indonesia Solar Energy Association. So, sir, we have been listening that many investors are interested to develop solar projects in Indonesia, but there are several, so to say, challenges. And that also includes that we need to identify more solar location in Indonesia. So how do you think our assessment could help with this? And also, what do the private investors and also the member of association expect to have more ambitious solar development in Indonesia?
Okay, thank you, Chitra. First of all, I congratulate IESR, Dhanel and the team for the completion of this study. For me, it's quite important study to enrich the information regarding the solar potential in Indonesia. And even though the most pessimistic scenario, 3,000 gigawatts, quite huge. And I think from the elaboration and explanation, from point of view of the investor, developer, I think this is encouraging them actually to seek more opportunity in investing the solar photovoltaic in Indonesia. But I think I have several notes to the study actually. I didn't follow quite well about the explanation, but I presume when the team, elaborating the potential, it's not only about the the availability of the land, but also you need to consider about the difference of the the power density between area. In Nusa Tenggara is higher than the in Kalimantan, and also Sulawesi also higher than in Sumatra and so on. And also you might need to include the clearness index, because the most clearness index is, then the highest the power density would be available. I'm not sure, but hopefully this kind of parameter has also been taking into account in your study, so that the number is quite realistic as much as possible. The second is about the overlay about the. I think Pak Krisnawan already mentioned about the availability of the grid. You need also to overlay the potential with the grid map, so that you also could improve the potential, not only photovoltaic in general, but also differ between where is the on-grid area and where is the isolated area. I think this is need more effort, but I think it's much more give the value of the report. Although this is quite has an achievement to provide some information for the players of the photovoltaic industries in Indonesia. Regarding your question about what is the expectation of association or the members of the association, actually, not only the the available excuse me, the available of the potential map or the location and a specific location, but also some improvement in regulatory and policy framework, as well as the economics of the photovoltaics industries. I think we have a lot and intensive discussion with Pak Krisnawan regarding how to improve the regulation and also the policies. One of them is the how we could, if I talk about the solar rooftop, for example, how we could streamlining and permits of the solar photovoltaics around the country, then it's give a positive signal to the player that the government has what do you call it, affirmative action to the solar rooftop, and this would be much in much better condition if the economics of the solar rooftop photovoltaic is also improved by improving the the net metering or net transaction of photovoltaic of solar rooftop, not 65% anymore, but higher than that. So this gives us the psychological signal, positive psychological signal to the market, and then this would definitely boosting significantly for the what do you call it, the interest of the people to use the photovoltaic. And I think those expectation among the others expectation of the players of solar photovoltaics. Well, other expectations not related to the potential, for example, the TKDN. But I think we can solve this out. How we make some sorting where TKDN will be applied and where will be option for the imposing the TKDN regulation. But I think this is quite solvable. What do you call it? A problem for the investor or developer of photovoltaic. I think those statements or comment on this study, Citra, that I could provide for now. But if there is any question or elaboration, I will provide later on. Thank you, Citra.
Okay, thank you, Pak Andhika, for your input, especially on how we should overlay this assessment also with great conditions, supply and demands. We will follow this up later in our following study. And we do agree that some challenges regarding solar development in Indonesia are solvable. So we should talk on how to create strategic solution on that. And I believe that the government is also working on improving current regulation on rooftop solar. Also the upcoming presidential decree on renewable energy tariff that we expect to come out soon, hopefully. and renewable energy bill as well. So we really wishing that all supportive regulation can come out this year so that we can start talking about implementation and amidst the regulation for now. I would like to talk to Professor Wang now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much, especially thank you for Ms. Chair, and thank you for the IESR and the GEI's invitation, and I can share to you. First of all, I think I would like to congratulate the launch of the report. I think the report very important. I think it's just like many speakers mentioned, it's a first step, and also very important step for our two countries' cooperation on the renewable development. I also agree with Dr. Zhang's comments during opening remarks, and mentioned this significance far beyond the report itself. I think in the future, I think how to strengthen the two big countries' cooperation on the renewable development, and also some project, and how to help Indonesia to realize your SDGs. I think, and also the NDC is very important. So that's the general comments. For the report, I'm not so expert on the Indonesia renewable development, so I cannot give a very detailed comments. But I think it's very important step, and can give geographic analysis, especially based on a scenario, and give some potential and also location for develop renewable, especially for solar PV. I think now the renewable in Indonesia is very low, just less than 1%. We can imagine, Chinese experience 20 years ago. Any Chinese can imagine the current result of a renewable development. So last year, I think the total installed capacity for solar PV in China is over 250 terawatt. And last year, I think the annual increase about over 35 gigawatt. I think in the coming 5 years, annually will increase over 50 gigawatt, maybe achieved to the 90 gigawatt for the power for the solar PV. I think there's a big difference. So now it's different stage compared with Indonesia, because you are in a very preliminary stage. Now China will achieve our high share of a renewable energy supply system. So it's a totally different challenge. But I would like to share our experience for the development of renewables, and especially for the solar PV in China. The first point is, I think China will adopt the target-oriented policy. We set up the renewables for the every 5 years plan, and also integrate into our NDC targets. So I think Chinese government is very powerful in this aspect. So we have a strong policy. So that's first one important point. The second one, it's about legislation. In 2005, the National People's Congress released renewable energy law, and set up some important policy, including the feed-in tariff, and also the RPS, the renewable portfolio standard. So I think this policy can incentive China's renewable development, and also reduce and scale up the renewable development, and also reduce the cost of the single renewable technologies or single unit. It's not a system. Now China is a system challenge. So I think this is a second part. The third one, I think maybe also could suggest for this product how to link with the centralized the power grid with the decentralized energy supply system. I think it is very important for Indonesia in the current stage, and how I think that's what. And the second recommendation is you should develop the mixed utilization of land policy. Now China's big challenge for the renewable development is the land policy, and so how to use the mixed use utilization. China push the renewable plus model, and the renewable plus the poverty reduction, plus the ecological restoration, and also plus the animal husbandry, and also the fishery. And now we use the PV produce the hydrogen. So it's a renewable plus model. I think I have to explore the renewable plus model in Indonesia. I think China could provide and share some experience with you. And we also will explore our land policy in the future. For example, just a question about the protected area, and how to, in some ratio of the protected area to use the mixed use utilization of land, and we could get co-benefits for the ecological restoration and renewable development, especially for the solar power. Last recommendations is we can not only focus on solar power, we should focus on the other renewables, especially offshore wind, because in Indonesia you have a lot of resources in this area. How to make the multi-energy complement, between the solar PV and offshore wind, and also the other resources. I think it's also very important in the future, and could speed up and scale up your solar PV and other renewable resources. So that's my comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Wang. My follow-up question would be, apart from the scale up, the big scale of how Chinese develop solar industries, it's also about how to prepare the whole supply chain of solar manufacturing, because China now is quite the #1 solar industries in the world. So how do you share with us on how Indonesia can also develop its own solar industry supply chain, so that we can somewhat decrease the cost and also create some jobs apart from the ambitious solar projects in the country?
Yeah, I think for this part, I think in Chinese experience, the first one I mentioned about China's targets oriented. We set up these targets first, and then we can import some important IPR, including the wind turbine, and also the other parts from developed countries, and localization. That's one part. The other part, we also have our own R&D. Maybe Madam Liao will mention this later. And we also develop R&D on renewable by ourselves. So we use two legs: one important and localization, and then develop by ourselves. So that and then we can reduce the cost based on the scale up. So that's a basic experience. But I'm not sure in Indonesia's model, you also could borrow Chinese experience on this and reduce and establish new supply chain, and also maybe we can in some degree we can cooperation between China and Indonesia, and to establish a green supply chain and reduce your cost up now. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm glad that you mentioned research and development as well, because in order to grow our solar projects and also solar industry, then the government also needs to pay attention more on the research and development and probably some technology transfer from other developed countries on this. Thank you, Professor Iwang. I would like to say hi to Professor Culping Liao. Good morning. Can you hear me? Say. Okay, Professor Liao, are you there? Yeah, let's check the connection for a bit. Could you chat Professor Liao in private to see if her connection is good? Okay, I would probably go back to Bu Chita Dewi first. Bu Chita, is there any upcoming like short-term plan from PLN to develop over 1 gigawatt of solar projects in Indonesia? So to say that we need to achieve that gigawatt order to boost more solar development in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Bu Chitra. As I mentioned before, that the development of any kind of power plant, especially for renewable energy development, we are not only considering about the one that already registered in our PTL, but we will adjust it with the current condition of the system, because we have to make a balancing between supply and demand. And how to achieve the target which is already there, we are trying to accelerate, especially for the development of PV. For the first stage, is this even it is still in total, even it is captured, but in total it will approximately by 100 megawatt peak. But it is very interesting because it is package for several location. And how we'll achieve for the gigawatt? Seems that if we understand that right now the PV solar has a massive development globally, and it will sure contributing the lowering the cost of equipment and finally impact on lowering electricity tariff. We have several proposals as well from the development. It is very interesting, but how will it be implemented? Once again we have to see the current condition of balancing of supply demand. And our first stage for this year, we are trying to have a procurement for the diesel conversion program, part of diesel conversion program for the first part of 200 locations. So it will be conducted in stages. This year, we are planning also to have contracted, but that right now is under finalization in Bali. It is already mentioned before with IESR that we are still waiting for the approval of tariff from the ministry. And hopefully the 50 megawatt peak in Bali will be completed within 15 months, if I'm not mistaken. That is the first stage. And then next year, we are going to have a commercial operation, floating PV. It is the first floating PV in Cirata, 145 megawatt peak. So it will be our biggest project. It is under PJB and Masdar next year for the target of commercial operation. That's for all.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we really hope that Indonesia can enter what's so-called gigawatt club soon. And we hope that the floating solar will also come online soon, because this is the first big solar project in Indonesia, and we hope that it will be followed by another floating solar development in Indonesia as well. Okay, Professor Liao, are you with us? Okay,
change another.
Yes, Professor Liao, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Professor Liao? Okay. Professor, are you with us now?
Yeah, I change another one. And can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. There's some kind of feedback from your side. Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Oh.
Hello?
It's okay now?
Yes, it's great. Please.
It's okay now?
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
Huh?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor.
I cannot hear you.
Okay, please kindly text Professor Liao that she can start giving comments for us. Professor Liao, you with us? Okay, some kind of technical. While we're waiting for a while for Professor Liao, we would like to remind all the audience that we will have the second round of discussion with other esteemed panelists, and we encourage you to leave your comments or questions in the comment and in the chat box. And we're really great to hear many inputs for our study here so that we can improve our follow-up study and how to use this information to promote for more solar projects in the country. I will check once more with Professor Liao. Professor, could you hear us? Okay. Because we have a limited time, I would like to ask the help for our colleague at GI, Sinran, later to accommodate the comments from Professor Liao. Thank you to Mr. Kurniawan from MEMR, Dr. Andhika from Indonesia Solar Association, Ibu Chita Dewi from PLN, and Professor Wang, also Professor Liao, for your kind inputs and comments for us. I hope that you stay until the end of this event to answer some questions from the audience later. And for now, I would like to hand over the time to my colleague Shengnian from Global Environmental Institute, who will be the moderator for the next roundtable discussion. The time is yours, please.
Okay. Thank you, Citra. This is Shengnian from GEI, and thank you for coming to this session. So with the assessment result of the nationwide solar PV technical potential in Indonesia, in this session, we will be discussing potential cooperation on pilot project development at provincial level to identify possible pilot for further planning and analysis. We're glad to have officials from provincial government, National Energy Council, representatives from independent power producers, as well as an expert from university to join us at this roundtable discussion. So first, I would like to welcome and briefly introduce our panelists. Then we're gonna get started. And first we have who is the Herman? Okay, first we have Dr. Engineer Herman Dhanel from National Energy Council. The Energy Council is responsible for establishing Indonesia's national energy plan. The plan is currently under review. And we have Mr. Wirawan from PJB Investasi, who is interested in large-scale mobility, and their latest project is the 149 megawatt rod floating solar project. And we also have Mr. Rudy Sembiring from the Verna as one of the leading renewable energy power producer in Indonesia. The company has 4 power plants in Indonesia so far. And we have Dr. Engineer Sudjarwanto from the Central Java government. where the region has been supportive of renewable energy development. It's looking for potential solar development project to develop as well. And lastly, we have Professor Liu Jianhua.
Yeah.
You see Liu Jianhua on the screen. So Professor Liu Jianhua is from Beijing University of Civil Engineering and Architecture. And Professor Liu and his team has been using AI algorithm to conduct building analysis for years now. Okay, we have everyone on the screen now. So shall we start with the first question? Is I would like to hear what the panelists would say about the potential pilot project in terms of its potential geographic location and scale, technology selection, and policy mechanism, as well as the investment and financing model. So should we start with Dr. Insigne Sudjarwanto Dwiatmoko? And we know that the central Java government is supportive for renewable energy. And could you please kindly share some information of current power supply and electricity demand in the region and how the solar development could contribute to it?
Okay, thank you for the occasion. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will to explain to presentation about Central Java commitment as a solar province in Indonesia. I will share my presentation. Please, my presentation can upload this Zoom meeting. Yeah. Sudah belum? Kok belum nampak? Kok belum
nampak? To share the screen or?
Yeah. We have some regulations for renewable energy. The third slide.
I think we can see the slide now.
Yeah, okay. The first is national policy about energy, and then power generations, and then the local government also enacted the policy by X number 23rd and 25, 20. By the law, we develop the implementation of energy development in Central Java. Okay. Now, I will show to you about national energy mix from 2016 until 2020. Slide number 5. Yeah. Right now, we reach 11-20% of new energy in our energy mix. And special of Central Java, we reach 11 and 89%. Yeah. The next slide. Next slide. Yeah. This is the regional government in Central Java. Right now, 11.89%. Dominantly by hydropower, biogas, and biosolar. PV also develop new insight for develop the new energy in Central Java. Now, local policy, next slide, in Central Java to develop the renewable energy. The first to formulate the policy to ensure reliable and equitable energy distribution for all people of Central Java. That's the problem about the equality energy for poor and also for remote area. And then we also enacted the regional energy general plan. Yeah, prepare technical guidelines for the implementation of regional energy general plan. And then we also promote the efficiency energy to control the efficiency energy conservation, and also how to promote consumption in the peak level and also in the low consume energy. Jadi, this is the program of efficiency energy. Then we also develop energy of local resources, developing renewable energy based on local energy resource like biomass, run of water on river, and also solar energy. And then we also implement the operational policy to ensure reliable, equitable energy distributions. And then also encourage the participation of local communities in the development of renewable energy. This is the policy about the development of renewable energy in Central Java. Next slide. Special on solar energy development in Central Java, we focus on the first step on solar home system. Yeah. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Solar home system has developed from 2013 until now, and we recorded until 2018 as 575 units installed capacity by of 13.1 kilowatt peaks. The second is communal off-grid solar PV. There are 21 units of communal off-grid solar PV, especially in remote area and also in not connected on grid, jadi off-grid, yeah, communal off-grid. So solar PV is the choice for fulfill the energy need of the rural community. There are 516 kilowatt peaks, and the third is solar street lighting. We call PJU, penerangan jalan umum. total development of solar street lighting in Central Java up to it's 0.891 unit distributed in all main road in Central Java. Next slide. We also developed the pioneering for project pioneering solar PV for water pump for farmers. Yeah, in 2020, a solar powered water pump has been built in Kaliwungu village, Purworejo, to irrigate 20 hectares of rice field. Arising water from the nearby river with the pump source from solar energy with the capacity 12 kilowatt peak. Yeah, not so high budget, only 550 million rupees. And right now, this pioneering project will be developed in some area for the farmers. Yeah, we will develop for some area in field in farmers' rice field. Yeah. And then next slide. We also develop rooftop solar PV. There is many projects, regional budgets, and since 2017, in SDM Department of SDM Central Java, and continue in 2018 and 2019. That is the pioneering also. Then, based on governors of Central Java to promote many public office, also private and industry can develop the rooftop PV. Nah, until the end of December 2020, there were around 171 units of rooftop solars in many sectors. Yeah, by national budgets, 36 number of units. Industry 7 units, but the big solar rooftop and other. Okay, yeah, this is a project for solar PV in many sectors. Next slide. Yes, some solar PV rooftop engineering and programmer company that interest in investing and establish branch office in Java, like, yeah, not so much, but also there is interest, but no build the brand office longer. Yeah, jadi right now has been centralized in Jakarta. Next slide. Yeah, we will promote the operational and maintenance training for rooftop solar PV. That in addition to construction of rooftop solar PV, they were also present and maintenance OM training in collaboration with the Central Human Resource of Development, EPTKI, for about 30 vocational high school. Yeah, will be graduate this year. So we hope we also can promote SME for solar PV services in Central Java. By this project, we can open the opportunity of manpower in Indonesia in Central Java. Yeah. Next slide.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sudjarwanto. Sorry for the interruption.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. We're running out of time, so we are glad to see some plan and a target has been made in Central Java, and also several projects has been developed. But I think I'm gonna to move to the next speaker. Apologize for that. So my next question, I would like to ask Dr. Engineer Herman Dhanel Ibrahim from the National Energy Council. And we know that Indonesia's national energy plan is currently under review. Could you please share a bit more of how the review is going, and is there any renewable energy target being set? Dr. Herman?
Hello?
Hi. Oh. Should I repeat my question, Dr. Herman?
Mute.
Oh.
Change.
Yeah, could you please
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you change my turn after this? Because I just arrived home from Parliament.
Sure. No problem. So, okay. I'll get back to you later.
I will.
Sure. I'll get back to you. Okay. Should we move to is Mr. Wirawan here with us?
Yes, Inran. I'm with you.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So my question for you is, as the energy investment company, what would you consider when developing a solar project? And could you please talk a bit about the Sirata floating solar project that you are currently developing right now, please?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like thanks to IESR this event. So first of all, I really appreciate with the solar PV technical potential assessment that has been carried out by IESR and also supported by a Global Environment Institute using the system-based geographical information. Actually, this data is very useful for the stakeholders like us, like a PJB Investasi, that doing developers of the IPP itself. And then we do hope that the further assessment will be done by IESR or the other stakeholders to further develop about the from the technical potential into the economic potential, and the last one is into the market potential, because this is very useful for us. And then secondly, actually, I just want to add some points that IESR already done, that actually we can optimize the usage of the water of the bodies that in this assessment actually exclude by IESR. That in my record, in my data, actually in Indonesia, we have around, around 192 dams and reservoirs spread in Indonesia, actually, with the catchment area more or less around 86,000 hectares, Shinran. So means that this is a very high potential to optimize the utilization of the floating PV. If we use only 5% from the 80,000 hectares itself, because it is limited by the government, that limit only 5% that allowed us to use the water bodies into the floating PV. So we can get around 4 gigawatt peaks, Shinran. So if we use the water bodies only 5%, we will add more or less 5 gigawatts or 4,300 megawatt peak itself in floating PV. So actually, I have some slides, but due to the time limit, so I just want to deliver my my idea by verbally. In Sumatra, there are 8 dams and reservoir, for example, and then in Java itself, we have 82 dams and reservoir. In Kalimantan, 7 dam and reservoir, and Sulawesi 4, and then Bali and Nusa Tenggara 90 dams and reservoir. I think that this is a huge opportunity for Indonesia to develop the floating PV. And then why we develop the floating PV? Because first is actually this is simplified the land acquisition. We know that actually the most challenging part in developing PV module, PV solar project is the land acquisition itself. By using this water bodies, actually, Shinran, we can avoid this land acquisition. And the number 2, you know that in the reservoir, the temperature is lower than in the land. So in many research, there stated that we can get the higher output from the floating PV itself. And then that I mentioned before that Indonesia has many reservoirs that we can use for the floating PV itself. And then also we can decrease the evaporation because we cover the bodies of the water by the PV, so we can decrease the evaporation. We preserve the water itself actually. But again, this is an opportunity and also the challenge. So before I mentioned about the opportunities, now I'm talking about the challenge itself. So actually talking about the floating PV in a Cirata floating PV is about 145 megawatt AC actually, not DC, means that the ratio is about let's say for the DC capacity it's around 180 more or less for the DC. I mean that 180 watt peak in Cirata floating PV. It's actually the large of the floating PV in Indonesia. The challenge is actually, Sidran, I just mentioned some points. First is actually this is a new technology for us. This is a pioneer for Indonesia and also in the world, because I record that in the world only 1,300 megawatt installed capacity floating PV installed capacity in the world. The China is the largest one. So in the world, still only 1,300 megawatt peak in the floating PV itself. That's why this is a pioneer, a new technology. For example, the most important thing actually for the floater itself and also the anchoring and mooring. In Cirata, we occupy around 200 hectares area to cover more or less 145 megawatt AC. So it's cover use of the land. And the main difficulties actually by technology of the anchoring on mooring itself, because the depth of the Cirata Lake is around 80 meters depth. So it's the depth is so deep, around 80 until 100 meters of depth. Shinran, this is our challenge, how we can develop the floating PV in Cirata itself. And then the secondary is also the environment, because when we cover the bodies of the water by the PV, actually we prevent the sun goes to the bottom of the sea or the reservoir itself. So we should have some assessment how to release this issue. And the third one actually is also important thing, because we occupy the reservoir that in that reservoir there is a dam. In Cirata Dam we have the GFRE dam, or concrete phase rockfill dam. So actually from the Dam Safety Commission stated that when we put the PV module into the water, so we should have some assessment, detailed assessment that make sure that the floating PV does not has any impact on the stability of the dam itself. Right now, we are struggling to convince the Dam Safety Commission to convince them that our floating PV does not harm for the stability of the safety of the dam itself. And also the last one is maintenance and also operation, because when in the land it is easy to reach, easy to maintain, easy to operate, but you can imagine if it is in the water, it's also issue for us to how to maintain the PV on the reservoir. And the last one actually is the classical reason for the developer actually about the tariff itself. The tariff right now is very challenging, Sinran. In our Cirata project, the tariff will be 5.8 cents per kilowatt hour. It's actually challenging for us. Actually, that's all for our side, Sinran. So I will elaborate if there is any question about the PV floating Cirata. So I will back to you, Sinran. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wirawan. Thanks. We're excited to hear that there's a huge potential for floating solar power plants, given the huge water area of Indonesia. And also thanks for sharing the challenges of project implementation for further pilot project consideration. Thank you for that. And next, may I invite Mr. Rudy Sembiring? Is Mr. Rudy Sembiring with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, sir.
Hi.
So Mr. Rudy Sembiring is from Verna Energy. And as the Verna Energy has already developed 4 major solar projects in Indonesia so far, could you please talk a bit about how the project were developed and what was the biggest challenge in the project development? And with your experience in developing the project in Indonesia, what would you suggest for potential pilot project development?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody. Vina, like the host was saying, was already developed 4 projects in North Sulawesi and also in Lombok provinces in Indonesia, 4 solar projects. And I took this time to congratulate IESR and GI for launching this report. I think it will be very useful for us itself, at least for initial screening process in the project development process. So to answer the question, I think although this technical potential mapping would be very useful for us for initial screening, of course, later on we will do the so-called micrositing. So more detailed studies on the geographical location, the irradiation, the potential, the substation or grid capabilities, etc., etc. So, like I said, it will be very, very useful for us for initial screening. But the challenges we have basically in the process is more on the economic and market potential. So I think on the economic potential we have seen, and the previous speaker have shown that the cost of solar power is reducing, although lately there is a little bit spike in PV costs and also copper and steel costs. So, but in overall the trend is going down. But having said that, you know, as per our title, to unleash the solar potential in Indonesia, there are 2 sides of these things. One is the supply and one is the demand. I think the supply is no questions. GI and IESR mapping have shown that we have enough resources. I think for the past years, during all the tenders and price discoveries exercises, there are very healthy appetite from local and international investors towards solar projects in Indonesia, very healthy. So, and it's also seen that the pricing benchmark now, even in Indonesia, is getting more and more competitive in comparison with international pricing. So on the supply side, I see a very healthy, or we saw a very healthy development in Indonesian solar industry. But on the demand side is, like everybody was commenting earlier, you know, we are really lagging behind even our regional competitors or regional countries. So on the demand side, I think there are. I like to underline two very key words, in my opinion, which will contribute to keep the appetite of local and international investors alive. One is predictability, and second is transparency. So I think the structure of power off-taking in Indonesia is largely, let's say, driven by PLN. So I think if the players can guarantee or improve the predictability and also the transparency of the process, it will really, give, or in the word of the IESR, is to unleash the solar potential in Indonesia. The problem now we have is we really, despite all the mapping and technical mapping, for example, we really do not know where would be the next project would be happening, where the demand is going to happen, and what would be the next project to be procured. So, and also I like to underline one, I think, which is very important things now in the demand side, which is if Indonesia aspires to be a global manufacturing hub, it must respond to the need of the clean energy to remain a trusted partner of the growing number of multinationals. So now I think the energy transition is no longer just a lip service. More and more multinationals now require this as a prerequisite to invest in any country. So I think for Central Java, for example, with all the industrial park development like Batam, this trend I think is quite important to take note of, because now, for example, if industrial park is ready, and if the investor come and said, where can I get the renewable energy? Then, then that is the question we need to address. So I think solar in this case in the renewable energy is proven to be one of the preferred renewable energy choices to this multinational, because the perceived lower impact both to community and also to environment. So I think on this, on balance, on the supply and demand, I think the supply in Indonesia, we really have a healthy development to unleash this solar potential on the supply side. But we do have quite a lot of work to develop on the demand side. I think that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thanks so much for giving us a comprehensive picture from the supply side and the demand side. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of challenges still in the demand side. And we're hoping for the further development and analysis cooperation with the Indonesia side, that we can work together to the investment of the solar project in Indonesia. And I just heard that we have Mr. Herman Dhanel from the National Energy Council ready to speak. So
yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Welcome back. Yes. Welcome back, sir. As I just introduced earlier, that the Indonesia National Energy Plan is currently under review. And so could you please share a bit more how the review is going? And is there any renewable energy target being set?
Yes. I prepared a presentation, but I will make it short. Can you inform me, please, who are the participants, so I can adjust my my speech, my presentation from the business, okay. Who are the participants?
So we have Dr. Insinyur Sudjarwanto from the Central Java government, and we have Mr. Will.
The audience, I mean.
Audience. Okay, the audience, so we have people from government officials, civil society, and also private sector.
Okay, yeah, I will make it short. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was scheduled a meeting with Parliament, but it was cancelled, so I can join this roundtable discussion. First, I congratulate IESR or maybe UNDP for the launching of the Indonesian Solar Potential Report. One moment. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just very quick. This is a solar as a technology. Solar PV has been developed technology, competitive price, yeah, and can compete with coal and gas plants. So no doubt about its attractiveness. And I have a statement, solar energy is the most reliable for renewable energy implementation in Indonesia. Why? Because other renewable energy, they are like hydro, geothermal, they are site specific. We can build only in the place where it is available, and also take times to develop. Like geothermal can be more than 7 years from the start until the operation. Wind power very limited. Biomass also not yet identified clearly. So this brings solar energy is the most reliable and most attractive renewable energy to implement. The reason why it's largely available almost in all islands, all places, easier to harvest, to implement, simple technology, low investment cost, competitive production cost, can be developed from small scale, rooftop scale, up to 100 megawatt scale. Simpler and faster construction. So this convinced me to push gigawatt renewable, gigawatt solar power by 2025. So this my review on the energy production and energy mix. Yeah. So here I show you by 2020. Actually the actual production is much less than what we have in National Energy Policy and also in RUEN, National Energy Planning. So like in 2020, electricity was planned 374 terawatt hour, but actual about 300. So this changed the production target on the energy policy as shown in this presentation. And then with this, I'm convinced that we can have 10,000 gigawatt, 10 gigawatt solar by 2025, and another 10 from 2025 to 2030. And with this, we will have, I show here, by 2020, we have 17% renewable, taking into account large hydro as well. But in 2025, we can make it 24 with this scheme. This based on, I think this is not, this is already conservative, not very ambitious. So still realistic. The only issue to implement this, that currently PLN has overcapacity from coal project. So if they sacrifice that, we can allocate this additional renewable of how much, yeah, you can see here. And then this is the advantage of I provoke solar society to boost from the rooftop solar. In my house has already installed a rooftop PV of 3.2 kilowatt, and every month I produce about 350 kilowatt hour, and as I use it as a roof of my canopy. So actually I should buy the canopy, I should cover my canopy with glass, and the price of glass per meter is also same as the price of panels, PV panel. So I put PV panel in my canopy, and then with that I invest, I avoid to invest the glass. So the investment, the net investment for 3.2 kilowatt only 220 million rupiah, and every month I calculate, I reduce my rate of about 500,000. So in 4 years, I will get the payback. So I prove in my house that rooftop has already bankable. And now some banks already provided loan easily, like BRI, also UOB, and I think many more banks. So cheaper investment installed on roof, no need to buy land to rent, directly connected to the distribution grids, no need new transmission. Like if you develop a large one, then you need transmission. If you develop rooftop, then it is in the distribution, so you don't need the grids anymore. It's directly connected. Small scales, everyone may invest, enables crowd investment, benefit the small and medium businesses in the country. So it can correct, the decreasing of the economic activity caused by the COVID-19. Scattered, smaller intermittency impact than large scale. So if we have maybe 1 million of 1 kilowatts, the impact is much better than one location in 1,000 megawatt. Yeah. So it's good for the operation if we have scattered rooftop. Then this is the my idea for another 20 gigawatt until 2030. Focus Java, as Java, 75% of electricity consumption is in Java, 15% in Sumatra. So if we have intermittent power in Java and Sumatra, we can penetrate more capacity to the system. So if we do it in the small region, then penetration is limited. So the solar the solar street regions such as Sumba, Nusa Tenggara, we can have it. I will explain after this. The scheme priority, I suggest to prioritize a rooftop large building, airport, harbor, stadium, large industrial and commercial building. If we go to places in Indonesia, we still not see the rooftop on the airport. But if we go in some small countries like in Caribbean, in many other places, every rooftop they already have. Every airport they have rooftop. Also, we have stadium, we have harbor, we have many buildings. Then it is very simple to install rooftop and this building. Second priority is residential rooftop. More than 60 million PLN residential customers. So if 1 kilowatt and only we take 10%, 1 kilowatt each, it's already 6 gigawatt. If we take maybe 20%, we got 1 kilowatt average each, 12 gigawatt. Solar farm is a non-productive land. So we prioritize solar farm, non-productive land and water, like in the lake, in the reservoir, and in solar-rich area like in Sumba. Solar farm with storage for peaker plant. I think PLN should start a study to implement the solar farm with pump storage used for peaker, and it is cheaper than peaker plant utilizing diesel fuel, I mean. Capacity target residential rooftop 10 gigawatt, non-residential rooftop 3 gigawatt, solar farm 2 gigawatt. Yeah, this target in Java. Outside Java, we can have residential rooftop 3 gigawatt, non-residential 1 gigawatt, and solar farm also 1 gigawatt. But this needs something, government support. How to make this happen? First one, we have to have a comprehensive study like feasibility study and be ready with the project candidates. PLN will support any any proposal with the study if we have the study and we show it, and then we have to include that in the RUKN, RUPTL in detail what scheme. So, for instance, in RUPTL we have to make it clear how much rooftop by district and by area. What's the capacity of the rooftop, and also where the location, and also for the solar farm we have to make it in detail. Currently in RUPTL they only have allocation for renewable this much, but there is no project list. and also improve policy and regulation to make the connection of solar rooftop to the grid easier and cheaper. I think this time it's not so easier, but also parallel operation, we need like cost, yeah. But if we really have to reduce the emission and increase the renewable, make it easier and make it cheaper for the connection. And also improve regulation for more attractive scheme of price. This time PLN government regulation only taking into account 60% of export, yeah, 65% of export, meaning that our selling price only 65% of our buying price, and this also with the limit of the export. I suggest to make it 100% at the beginning to boost the renewable. And you see, if we have like 10 gigawatts, the energy of 10 gigawatt only 15 terawatt hours. And with 300 terawatt hour production of PLN, 15 gigawatt is insignificant, only 5%. So PLN has to change the policy, and also maybe has to be more with the wisdom. Yeah, I think implementation of the renewable energy activity on climate change need wisdom, not only need commercial attitude. Yeah, with the wisdom. Regulation to facilitate simpler and easier scheme access for the bank credit. This time it's already easy, but if you make it easy, and I think like now if you buy a motorcycle, you bring 500,000 rupiah and your identity card, you get motorcycle. Can we make a solar PV like that? If we do like that, and then everyone will have solar PV, and they buy it by reducing of the rates. So for instance, like in my house, I pay 22.5 million rupiah per month. But after I have solar PV, I pay around 2.1, 2 million. So 500 I can use for installment of my credit. So if we make this rooftop bankable, then we can have, I think, more than 10 gigawatt, even 20 gigawatt, and everyone can do it because they don't have to be rich to have the rooftop. Government support subsidy to allocate the cheaper financing for solar power rooftop. So I think it is good if the government can subsidize for the interest rate. So with that, it's maybe make it like 2%, 3%. Yeah. So also the banks maybe will have a program for their support on the climate change and allocate some of the credit to facilitate the rooftop and the solar project. So to close, this is to close. I think what I say, this need to be discussed with PLN, with EBTKE, yeah, and I think we have to change the path. Yeah, we have to. I think we have like to reinvent the policy and also the plan for the especially for this solar PV up to 2025, because we only have 5 years to work, and our target 23%. At this time, only 10%. Yeah. So with this, maybe we can have another 5% increase in our renewable energy share. We cannot reach 23%, but we can make it better with this action. So this is the end of my sharing.
Thank you so much for a very comprehensive presentation, showing us the advantage of the solar of your own case, and also even idea of implementing the 20 gigawatt solar to the 30, and even give us some of the suggestions for the policy support that need to be improved. Thank you so much. And last, we have Professor Liao Jianhu.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So Professor Liao Jianhu is from the Beijing University of Civil Engineering and Architecture. Through partner with GEI, we were able to conduct rooftop solar PV potential assessment in Myanmar and Vietnam. So Professor Liu, could you please share a bit of how AI algorithm assist pilot project analysis in the provincial and the municipal level?
Okay, it's my pleasure.
share the PowerPoint.
Share the PPT to the screen. Okay. Okay. Thanks to the opportunity to share our technical tools. Okay. The goal. First, we have to extract and recognize the building rooftops from the high spatial resolution remote sensing imagery. Yeah, just like this. Yeah. So where have to get get the building rooftops from the remote sensing imagery, and where and how many is our goals. The method refers to two key technicals. The first one is AI building recognition. Yeah, just like this. We will recognize the building rooftops from the image automatically. Then we will get the building rooftops vector polygon. Yeah, just like this. So the building vector polygon generation is another key technicals. Yeah, just like this. If after we get the building rooftops vector polygon, we will take the building big data statistical analysis, just like this. Yeah, we will get the building functions and building heights, etc. This is the application of our AI technique. Yeah, it's Herman Mandler. In the city of Mandalore, we recognize building rooftops 305,000,000. Yeah, building area. We achieved this number. And another application in Vietnam, we process 3 province data, and we get the building rooftops about 1,616,000 polygons from the image. Yeah, and it's a very huge. Yeah, I think the topic, today's topic is very interesting, and we will have a bright futures. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Liu, for sharing how AI algorithm could use to support solar PV potential assessment of the rooftop. I've got one question for you. Is what do you think? What's the advantage of using AI algorithm for rooftop mapping compared with the conventional way?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, first, in traditional way, we have to process the image and picture the polygon, get the polygon of the rooftops by manual, and it will last long times. It's hard to meet the demand of the time and quickly. So we have to use the then at present, we use the AI recognition method to process the image as well as quickly. Just like the application in MEMR, we just use 2 or 3 months to process, get the fruit. So this is the first one. And another is meet the demand of money, because it's cost efficient. So we will pay lesser and cheaper than the traditional ways. Okay, I think it's of course another government policy and market price also will give influence on the technicals. So we will take more factors into account to consider the complex situation in our project. Okay, so I think the cheaper and lower price will be offered by the AI.
Thank you. Thank
approach.
you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm just wondering, because we
Okay, that's
know,
all?
because we know that the QGIS was used when IESR conduct the nationwide solar potential assessment. So is AI algorithm building up on that, or it's different system for further analysis at the provincial level?
Yeah, last year we have introduced the QGIS as a basic tools to IESR and GI, and we use QGIS spatial analysis tools to solve the overlay many map layers to produce the final estimation or the assessment report by the QGIS software. So I think many GIS and IS tools should be used in our project and solve the problem efficiently. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think the time is running out on us. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for all the panelists to share your expertise today. And last, I think we have Ms. Liao Culping from the GEC to give some comments, suggestion, because she was missing on the panel, the first roundtable discussion. So Ms. Liao, would you like to give some feedback for that?
现在听得见我的吗？还有你好，听得见吗？还是听不见？
可以，
听得见是吧？
可以
啊，那不好意思哈，那我就是简单的说几。
A brief note. We are very glad to see that the IEI, the tool, has been used by the IERS and the GEI, and has been used in Indonesia. For the renewable energy, when the government is formulating a plan, when they're formalizing their targets, they will be needing this quantitative data to support their policies. And it is also very useful for the choice of technical pathways. Resource analysis should be connected with the technical pathway. So for the land-mounted stations, it has already very great potential. For the use of PV, we also have distributed model and other multifunctional land use model. For example, fishery, agriculture, forestry could also be used or also be promoted along with the PV on the same piece of land. For example, if it's in a city, we need to have, in our application, we are using the rooftop PV. And also in the industrial parks and in the residential complex, the rooftop PV also has great potential. So for the next step, I think in Indonesia, the potential, if compared to the potential in Guangdong province, is relatively bigger. And in the distributed rooftop PV, Indonesia may give us better surprises. So I think if we want to unleash the PV potential in Indonesia, it's applicable. In choosing the technical pathway, we could know the potential in different scenarios. And we could have an economic study to see the costs, to see the tariff, and to decide the investment model. In this way, when the government wants to realize a goal, it will be able to know what kind of policies and incentives could be used to realize those goals. So I think for the project, in the next step, we have the technical analysis, economic analysis, policy analysis that should be carried out. And also stakeholders should be engaged in a very effective way to promote and scale up PV in Indonesia. For the next step, I think it is very essential because this is only the first step. So we will have to choose the pathway, conduct economic analysis, choose the sites, land the projects, and propose technical standards. I'm very happy to see that Indonesia, as the previous speakers has said, that is having a very good foundation for PV solar development. I also hope that solar PV could be better utilized in Indonesia. And you could also have more achievements in industrial development and R&D so that the costs of electricity generation could be lowered. Because nowadays in China, many renewables tariff is very similar to that of coal-fired power plants. So it's very promising field. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, thanks for all the panelists to share your expertise. So with all the sessions, next we will engage with potential regional stakeholders to identify projects for further cooperation and analysis, while the necessary capacity building. And Citra, Citra? Yes, okay, I'm gonna get to you now.
to identify which of their location can be used for developing solar PV. And as you said, that it is possible to have 10 gigawatts of solar energy by 2025.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks again for all the panelists and participants joining us today. So we're already at the end of our discussion. Apologize for being several minutes late. So this geospatial assessment of Indonesia's nationwide solar PV potential is conducted as a series of assessment that we will be performing later to know potential projects to be developed in Indonesia and to support the government in developing more ambitious renewable energy and especially solar energy in Indonesia. I would like to invite Madam Jiao Manjin from Global Environmental Institute as she will be delivering her closing remarks.
I speak Chinese, sorry.
It's okay. So please, audience, you can turn up the translation services to English.
Okay, thank you. 各位嘉宾，上午好。其实已经接近中午了。
Everyone.
那么我
Good
应该用
morning, but it's already approaching noon. So I should be speaking very briefly.
感谢的话呢，我放到最后去说。那么我先
I will
想
leave the thank you to the ending of my speech.
几点的一个
Firstly,
这个总结吧。那
I
么
want
第一
to
个
sum
呢
up a little bit.
是在中国的 GEI 的团队，那
So
么实际上
the
呢，
Chinese GEI team
他们实施了一个气候变化的全球行动。那么这个
actually has conducted a climate change
太阳能的
action
潜力分析研究的
and it has
项目。
studied
那么这个项目呢，在中国、在缅甸、
PV
在
potential.
在这个
And
越
this
南、
project
在
in China, in Vietnam, in Burma, in Sri
那么
Lanka have
可
already
能
been
在缅
conducted.
甸呢，我们
And
已
in
经
Burma,
到了这个选择项目点。
we have chose the locations for the projects.
那么
And
继续
also
呢
we've made some plans for the projects.
事情呢，暂停在那。那么
And some of the constructions are ongoing.
印尼的，那么这个
And today we see the potential in Indonesia. And we see
那
the
么在
launch of
越
this
南
report.
还在
And
处于一
in
个
Vietnam,
在
it's still underway.
工具的这么一个阶段。
We are introducing
所以
the
呢，这个
toolkit.
呢是第一点是
So that's the
中国
first point.
这个实际上是在实施这样的一个项目。那么
China
接
is
下来
actually implementing this
在这
plan.
个区域里头呢，我们还会有一个
So
红
next
的保护的项目。那么
we
其
will
中也有
have
张
another project.
这个
Like Chairman Zhang has
提到
said
的
in his opening remarks.
我们接下来呢也可
We
能还会再
will
做这个方面的。
also pursue
那么
this
第二
project in
点
the
呢，我
future.
想让大家回
And
顾的
for the
呢，
second
一
point
个
is that
最重要的一个这个大头的这个会议的呈现，实际上
this is
是
the main
我们的
course
合
for
作
the
方
meeting.
IESR， 那么他
Our
们呢
partner IESR
非常好的一个研究结果成果
has rendered a brilliant
那么在这个里头呢，我
output
不
of
说，我觉得呢
research.
因为说的信息量非常大，而且做的
It's
这个研
very, very informative
而且呢这个
and
会
very, very appealing.
呢为他们呈现了这些东西。
And this meeting
那我
is a
想有
great
2点，
representation of that.
在印尼方面呢，我
So
觉
for the
得呢
round table, I
一定要
think
提到的就是这个研究报告，
it
实
should
际
be
上呢
noted that this report
冲破他们的
is
一个
a breakthrough
2007 吉瓦的这么一个目标。
you are trying to make a breakthrough for your national plan. It's very ambitious. For the global realization of the NDCs is a very good demonstration. And also, I appreciate that you have invited the representatives from the government, from association, from industry as well. So it's very broad representation. Everybody and every player is engaged in the discussion of developing PV in Indonesia. And for the realization of the goal, everybody has made a valuable contribution. And in the future, we will see more reports. And the third point is that the panel discussions are very brilliant. The Chinese experts have introduced in terms of the policy, the technicalities, and also the policy environment and the obstacles in China. China is now in the phase where we need to overcome new challenges. So these are all very important. And I think this sharing would also help us to get a view as for how we could overcome our own challenges in China. So we thank the Indonesian experts for that. And also, for the next step, as we all know, this is only the first step. We will see more challenges to come. For example, choosing the project and financing, making a plans, etc.
All these challenges to be addressed. That's why that we hope that together with our partner, IESR from Indonesia, to continue our work. And we hope that we can, if possible, if we have the opportunity, that we can connect the stakeholders from China, from MEMR, from Vietnam, and from Indonesia. All the experts and analysis we have done can be put together. And we can also have a discussion with each other. So that is Southeast Asia. We can help the Southeast Asians to achieve their NDC by solar energy. And also, we sincerely hope that this year or maybe next year that we can present our research result to the world, to the international stakeholders. And also, finally, I also want to give my appreciation. We want to thank our donors. We want to thank our partners. Our donors have funded us to do all this kind of research. We also want to thank all our panelists and also our participants. They have contributed a lot to our discussion. And mostly, we also want to thank our partner, IESR, for their hard work, for the whole team they have. Also, I want to thank you for your collaboration with the GEI, and definitely we want to continue our collaboration towards a better future, and we would like to contribute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Jin. 谢谢. For all the panelists, I would like to invite you all to open your camera so we will take a quick picture together. All right. Just keep your smile and we will take the screenshot of you. All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. On behalf of IESR and GEI, I would like to thank all the panelists and participants joining us via YouTube and also on Zoom. The report is available for download at IESR website. And let's keep this voice and effort to accelerate solar development in Indonesia. Just for your information, Mr. Fabi Tumewa and I wrote an op-ed last year that we picked a title, this say the impossible quest of making Indonesia a solar powerhouse. And we do expect that we finally can say that the solar energy in Indonesia is sunny and bright. See you all on our next event. Good day, take care, and stay healthy.
Oke, terima kasih IESR.
Terima kasih Pak Kris.
Ya, izin.